Chapter 68. Open Sea. It was Sunday morning. The Pacific Ocean lay bright and wide before the aircraft carrier USS Limelight. He smiled as he thought that they had planned a year ago to marry on this day. 7 December 1941. How little had they known that things would pan out so differently. Now he was already a married man, half a world away from England, and soon she would join him. They were on course for Luzon and would be there in about a day and a half. They were carrying a shipment of Curtiss P-40 Warhawks for the Philippines, as well as 12 Grumman Wildcats that were the ship's main anti-fighter defense. It was just after 9 when they spotted ships ahead. The men crowded to the deck. "Those are not ours." Danny knew. It was the sixth sense of having seen too many 109s come down from the sun. You knew. The sense of some obscure ambush had been with him since Stratton's letter had landed on his desk. It wasn't the ambush he had expected, but he knew. "That is a Japanese destroyer." Someone spoke up behind him. It was at the next moment that the flash came from the distance and the sea seemed to explode. He was knocked to his knees and felt rather than heard the boom. They were under attack. Then he heard the planes. His gut screamed at him to scramble. He didn't realize that he actually yelled it out loud. Somebody grabbed him by the sleeve. "You're the RAF ace, aren't you? We need to get in the air. Can you fly one of these?" "Yeah, sure. Where are our pilots?" "Everywhere, man. We're not battle ready." The second volley hit them. "We need to get in the air." The Japanese Mitsubishi Zero tore overhead and it stuttered lead, tearing holes in the fuselages of the P-40s. "We do not have time. Get your pilots." Time broke into fragments. He was shrugging on flying gear. His mind was screaming, "Scramble, scramble, scramble." 3 of the Japanese planes with the red roundels screamed down, "Get in the air, get in the air." Where was Johnny when you needed him? Where were the other pilots? Why were they so slow? There were about 10 of the other men running toward the planes now, some of them ground crew. Engines full on open throttles. He'd never taken off from a carrier before. Open up, lift. He made it, but barely. The Wildcat handled very differently from the Spitfire. There was another volley from the destroyer hitting somewhere behind him. There were Zeros coming in straight ahead and he thumped the guns violently. Sparks flew from the Zero. She fired back. The Wildcat jerked. There were holes in his cockpit. He rolled, evaded. There was another Wildcat in the air. "We have to get high on them and cover anyone else who can make it to the planes." Joy surged in him when a voice came back in his earpieces. "Affirmative, leader. Let's get the bastards." "Cover my wing." "Yes, sir." They came in wide as the Zeros approached for another strafing run. He had known such desperate rage only once before in his life. The Zero veered, rolled. There was smoke and it crashed into the sea, but it made no difference. There were too many. They had to get more Wildcats into the air. Where were the other pilots? Then there were 2 more up and a 5th trying for takeoff. It was as the 5th Wildcat tried to lift off that another volley hit the flight deck straight on. The plane that was lifting off was obliterated. There were 4 of them up. "Get the height on them. Wingman, we're going in. Stick to me. We've got to give 'em the chance to clear the deck and get more fighters up." Then it was instinct. The many hours above England kicking in and obliterating thought. It was a deadly dance of evasion and contact, carefully aimed shots. There would be no refueling, no returning to base, no reloading. He shot down another Zero. The red roundels and the smoke coming up from the Limelight were all that he was conscious of. "Leader, they got one of ours." "Stick to my wing and shoot as soon as you get one of the bastards in your sight." His wildcat shuddered against the Geese as he clawed his way up into the sky, firing nearly straight up at a zero. His sight was reduced to black except for the red roundels everywhere. He desperately fought the wildcat out of a stall. He had lost his wingman somewhere. It didn't matter anymore. The smoke thickened. Rage was boiling in him, and grief. He couldn't tell it apart anymore. There was a zero on his tail. He rolled. "Wingman, I could use a hand." Bullets hit his wing. He felt the jerk. He rolled again. From the smoke another red roundel plane appeared. "Leader, hang on, I'm almost with you." "Johnny, I wish you were here." He was praying silently. There were more holes appearing in his cockpit. Everything was shuddering. Roll, evade, skim the water. He blindly fired at a zero, hit it against all odds. He could see the spray from his wings. He was that close to the water. Then the zero behind him exploded. "Well shot, wingman." He was pulling up hard when the torpedoes hit. The explosion threw him to the side like a toy, and he struggled to regain control. The world went white, then came back in a rush. Below, the limelight was keeling in the water, smoke and fire billowing. She was going down. He fought wildly. The wildcat brushed the water, and for a fleeting moment he thought he wouldn't get her up again. But he did, somehow. There was another massive torpedo boom, an explosion that shook the sky. He pulled up, around, and the limelight was gone as if she had never been. There was smoke, and the water seemed to boil. Minutes, and it was all over, and 800 men were gone. The rage threatened to undo him. "Wildcat leader, come in! Wildcat leader, can you hear me?" It was just a boy who was flying with him, and it was hard to tell, but then he thought that he was crying. For a moment he fought the urge to drag the wildcat back into battle, but the boy's voice brought him out of it. "Pull up, wingman, we're breaking. We're heading for land. We can do nothing here." The zeros had pulled away when the limelight sunk. "Wingman, what's your name? Where's the other wildcat?" "I'm Eddie, sir. I haven't seen it again. I think they got it. Your plane is shot up badly, sir. Are you all right?" "Eddie, I'm Danny O'Neill. We have a small chance to reach land. If we stay here, we're done. The zeros will come back to finish us. Get height and let's get out of here." His voice strangled as he spoke, and he coughed. He wiped his mouth, and when he looked down, there was blood everywhere. He didn't understand. It seemed minutes before he did. "Eddie, I'm wounded. I'm not gonna make it. I want you to head for land. I'll stay with you as long as I can." He was lightheaded. He coughed again, saw the blood splatter on his windscreen. Then the wildcat started cutting out. "Eddie, I need you to reach safety. You can't fail me. I need you to get to land. I need you to live and tell my wife I love her, and I always will. Tell her I'm so sorry." He didn't hear the boy's reply. He pushed the game little wildcat as hard as he could, but he knew he was out of time. "Go home, Eddie. You have to." The engine cut out. He was still conscious when the wildcat hit the water. "Oh, dear God, Eleanor, I am sorry."